name is Robin Prather, and I'm going to share today with you about gluten and the effects it can have on the body. I have researched about gluten myself for personal reasons, because I have some unsolved health issues in my life. I will be sharing with you information that I have researched and have learned from experts on this field. Let me begin by saying, what is gluten? It's the protein that is in wheat, rye, and barley. It is what makes the stickiness in dough. It makes it kind of acts like a glue. It is in everything that is edible and not edible. Did you know it's on the back of stamps and on the insides of envelopes on the sticky part? Sometimes gluten is hard to recognize in foods, as they have different names and labeled very differently. But according to the National Digestive Disease Information Clearinghouse, the Food Allergen Labeling and Consumer Act was passed and took effect as of January the 1st of 2006. That requires all food companies to label their foods containing gluten or any other kind of food allergen. According to Sherry Lieberman, which is a PhD, a CNS, and an FACN, gives statistics in her book that come from Economic Research Service of U.S. Department of Agriculture. In 1967, consumption of grain containing gluten was 115 pounds. In 2003, the consumption in grain containing gluten was 139 pounds. That is an increase of 24 pounds. Today, there is 90% more gluten in wheat than there was a century ago. Due to greater demand, bioengineers produced more gluten in wheat, or produced more wheat that contains more gluten. Sherry Lieberman says that the demand for convenience caused grain consumption to escalate. She says that consuming the same amount as today as what we were 10 years ago, we would still be getting more. The effects of gluten on our body can be anywhere from severe to mild. And usually that whenever you have gluten sensitivity or celiac, the symptoms will become worse over time if you do not adhere to a gluten-free diet, which is the only way to heal the body, is to not eat things with gluten in them. Celiac disease is the final stage. You can begin with gluten sensitivity, and it can progress into celiac if let go. The problems begin. Gluten begins affecting the digestive system. It starts with the small intestines, is here, and in your small intestines there are finger-like villi. They look kind of like these. They look like little fingers here, as you can see. And after you've been consuming gluten, and your body begins attacking it. And when it starts attacking it, this is a healthy small intestines, and here are healthy finger-like villi. When the gluten attacks your body, or the gluten is in your body attacks it and ends up destroying your small intestines and destroying the finger-like villi. It flattens them out, which in turn causes your body not to be able to absorb nutrients. The finger-like the villi, they help your body whenever you have foods go through your digestive system. They latch onto the nutrients and they absorb it, and it goes into the blood from there and distributed throughout the body. But whenever they've been damaged, malabsorption takes place, leading to other problems, as I will discuss a little further. You may be wondering, how do you get gluten? How do you get gluten sensitivity or celiac? It can be it's the only way is for it to be inherited, and it usually comes from an Irish descent. If you have Irish in your ancestors, it's something you would really want to look at. And it can be, again, from any age, from infancy on up. And some people may never have any symptoms up until they go through something that is stressful on their bodies, such as surgery or pregnancy and childbirth. A viral infection or severe emotional stress will cause the symptoms to become affected. According to the Archives of Internal Medicine, the chances of having celiac are more than 2 million in the U.S. And according to the Journal of Gastroenterology, 4 to 12% of celiacs have first relatives with celiac disease. Oftentimes, celiac and gluten sensitivity are often misdiagnosed due to the lack of testing. Blood tests, most often, they can come back inaccurate. Even though you may not show up as celiac, you may have gluten sensitivity. Diseases can hide or mimic, or gluten can hide behind diseases or mimic them, such as like diabetes, thyroid disease, rheumatoid arthritis. You can have migraines, hives, irritability, which is especially common in children, and digestive disorders, such as irritable bowel. There is no medical help that can be given. No meds, no surgery is not an option. And the only thing is through a gluten-free diet. If gluten is removed and you're still continuing to have problems, it may be because you're still getting small amounts in your diet somewhere. It may be through sources of additives, modified starches, preservatives, or even cross-contamination. You can get cross-contamination at home through these sources, or through just using the same toaster with someone who doesn't have gluten sensitivity. Or it can be in a factory where gluten-free foods are made in the same place as foods that contain gluten. If anyone has any information on more about gluten and celiac or gluten sensitivity, feel free to come see me after this presentation, and I'll be glad to share with you some sources of where you can find more information and more information of what I even know as myself, personally, experience and the gluten effects. Thank you for coming, and have a great afternoon.